Good morning, YouTube. So we had a power outage and the generator transferred, picked up the power. Power came back, generator did not transfer back to main power. So I'm gonna walk you through what I did, found out what happened, and what I did to fix it. So the power went off by about 9 in the morning. I work odd hours, so I was asleep. I sleep with box fans, so they have the loud roar, kind of drowns out the outside noise and everything. I could hear the fans whining down. Woke up, yeah, power outage. Heard the generator start, fans came back up, went back to sleep. Woke up about 6 hours later and couldn't tell if the generator was running or not. Everything in the room was running, the portable air conditioner, the box fans. Shut everything down, get to the coffee pot. I noticed the generator's still running. So I'm like, wow, it's pretty long power outage, like 5-6 hours. Generally ours are only a couple hours if they do happen. And if they do happen, they usually happen once a week or once a month for 4 or 5 months till they find the problem. So anyway, I'm looking around the neighborhood and I don't, nobody's lights were on. Couldn't tell if power was restored or not. I got a text message from the main power company that said power was actually restored at like, say 9:30 or 10 o'clock that morning. So I'm like, why is the generator still running? So I come out, pull the cover off of my meter, and I test it, and yeah, there's power coming in, so why the generator's still running, I have no idea. So I started to trace things down, and my biggest fear, I've talked about before in a couple of the other generator videos, this battery pad, this is a piece of silicone right here, that red mat that's under it. That's so that this pad, over time, with the weight of the battery and the vibration, it doesn't ground out on the generator, short out, pop this fuse that's connected. A lot of times people say they're just sitting around and then all of a sudden their generator starts and transfers for no reason. A lot of times it's because that those cold weather kits are the culprit of that. But it wasn't this pad. Those fuses were like $7-8 a piece. You don't get them from a big box store either, so I had to order them from Ziller Electric, and they shipped them to me within like 2 or 3 days. So what I had traced down is this crankcase heater. There's the 2 wires on it. Over time, let's say in the 7 years, 8 years, or 6 years, 5 years that this generator's been installed, if you can see, those wires, I rerouted them where they are now. They were up under here. So they were between the bottom of this and the cabinet. And over time, this generator starts, the motor rocks this way. So over time, just from the running and the vibration, the start and stopping, the white wire that's on here, it had sanded that thing down just enough that the bare wire grounded out on this cabinet, popped that fuse. So, here's your 3 fuses that are in here. You got an N1, an N2, and a T1. And believe it was I think it was the N2 that was busted or popped. So I took my meter, set it on AC. So we got nothing happening there. And I tested the fuses. And I got like 124 or 123 when I did this. It's because one of those fuses was blown. I tested the other side and I actually had the 235. I tested it this way. Shows 0. I was getting 124 also, so I couldn't figure out what was happening Best way was just to shut all the power down. Disclosure, if you're not familiar with this stuff, don't be digging around in there. Get an electrician. So I took apart, put this on ohms. So I shut all the power down. I took my fuse pullers. I pulled those fuses out and I tested them one at a time. Basically, you just take the fuse, set your meter on ohms. You can hear that beeping. That means that's a good fuse. One of those fuses that wasn't happening was no beep, so I knew that was a blown fuse. So, you know, again, these things being $7-8 a piece, that's your part number. I took it, pulled them out, found the one that was blown, put it back in there, went over, started the generator up, turned the breaker on the side of the generator. It was running fine, and as soon as I flipped this up to restore the main power, I heard it pop and it blew that fuse again. So I thought, okay, something's got to be shorted. I didn't know if something had got down into the conduit, running over to the generator and chewed up a wire. I don't know if a mouse or a ground mole got down in the generator. I'm not sure what was going on. So it was a little bit of a testing phase to try to figure out what was going on. But that's what it was. And I know sometimes Generac includes these, maybe 1 or 2 spares with a new unit, but mine didn't come with any unless the installers took them. So I got these from Ziller Electric. I think I got a total of 4, maybe 5. I think I got 1 in the house. And then these ones I keep out. This was a 7.5 amp fuse, regular basic automotive fuse, but for free shipping I had to buy that, so it rounded it up like another $2 that I needed to put me over so I could get them shipped for free. So I just put all these in this bag, and I roll this bag up and I keep it tucked in there in case that happens again. But I went to Ziller Electric's website. They have a forum that was on there, and I asked a couple of questions on, you know, what would happen. And it's the first thing they were saying was, hey, check those cold weather kits and make sure something's not grounded out. And sure enough, that's exactly what it was. I would have just never suspected that to happen. If anything would have happened, I thought it would have always been that battery pad grounding out. But the culprit this time was the oil crankcase heater. Right back down under there. I'm assuming just from the years of maintenance and stuff that had lifted up and slid over there, got up underneath of there. It was perfect. I mean, it was just a perfect little formula that happened. So in here I always keep the instructions on how to shut the generator down under load. And then over here in the transfer switch, when I put my middle cover back on, I keep this in there. Explains to you how to manually transfer the power if you need to, step by step. That way there's no mistake, and I read through this before I do it. And that's what I did. When the generator was running, the main power was restored, I walked over to the generator. I shut the main breaker off on the generator and I waited 2 minutes for cool down. Then I walked over here and I shut this off. Then I took my tool, put it in that yellow hole right there. Of course, it was in the down position because I was on the generator. I pushed it in there, and then I took a piece of 2x4 and threw it just to make sure that I wasn't making any contact with any metal. This is definitely not how I want to go out getting fried. Flipped it back up, main power was restored. So that was the fix. That's what happened. That's where you get your fuses. I'll leave a link in the description where I got the fuses. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe.